gentlemen, start your engine!
The power of dreams. I am the front man who drives. My power keeps me ahead in the front line. My reputation gets me on the front page. This is how I drive superiority. By being in the front row. New Honda Civic Turbo.
Hello and welcome to the Honda Racing Simulator Championship, where we've got 60 of the best sim racing drivers from Indonesia to compete in our pro and amateur classes. Here we're using a Honda Civic TCR car from 2018, and this is the test race, so this is not a race for the championship, but next week we'll be getting underway back here at the Suzuka circuit. But me, Cameron Roger, taking you through proceedings today along with Felix van Delft.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to today. Of course, like you say, it's only a test race so far, so it's a little bit about the drivers getting ready on how this series is going to be. For us, everybody behind the scenes, of course, getting ready on how to get everything set up and get the races going. And of course, also for you, the viewers, to have a bit of a sneak preview in how this championship is going to be run.
Yes, and how is it going to be run? Well, as I mentioned, we got two classes. We got the pro and the amateur classes. They've had about 2 weeks of pre-qualification where there was a server and they could set their fastest lap times. The top 30 went into the pro category, and the second 30, between 31 and 60, have gone into the amateur category, which we are viewing here at the moment. So firstly, we'll get into the amateur class, where we will have a 15-minute private qualifying session followed by a 20-minute race. And then straight after that, we will get the pro drivers out, and they will also have a 15-minute qualifying, but they have a slightly longer 40-minute race. So the drivers are now coming out onto the circuit for qualifying. As mentioned, it is a private session, which means they can only see themselves on the track, so there will be no issues with blue flags, anything like that. They just have the whole track to themselves, and they'll be able to set the fastest time they possibly can. Obviously, Suzuka is one of the longer circuits we have, 5.8 kilometers, and it's going to be probably about I'm going to guess, somewhere in the region of maybe a 2-minute 5 for maybe a 2-minute 6 for the qualifying lap times. So the drivers will be coming on their out lap now. As you see, we are here coming through the first sector on board with the first driver.
Yeah, Detio Ari looking to start his first out lap. Of course, like you say, qualifying, it's important. You want to be in the front of the grid, of course, at the start of the race. Races aren't too long, so qualifying position is very important, especially at a track like Suzuka. I mean, it does have some straights, but it's mainly a lot of technical sections, technical corners, which it will be difficult to actually get past drivers. So let's see how they do in qualifying. Of course, still most drivers on their out lap. Once they get going on their flying laps, we'll have a look at how quick they go.
And one thing to mention with these drivers is a lot of them, or at least the people who entered the qualifying. I think there was 200 people who set laps in the qualifying server, which is amazing. So good to see all the support from the Indonesian drivers, and even some of these people in the amateur category. They are somewhat new to sim racing, and especially rFactor 2, which is what we are racing on. It is the simulation of choice for this championship. You can get it on Steam if you have not already got it, and it is obviously a high level simulator. It's not a game as such. It is simulating, aero, tires, and also suspension quite heavily and quite realistically. So if you want to get involved, maybe not for this event specifically, as pre-qualification has closed, but in future events by HM Engineering and Honda as well, then rFactor 2 is certainly something that you want to look out for. But yes, it is a very high level simulator. You've got to be careful with how you set up the car. There's a number of parameters you can change, and for drivers who are a little bit new, it could be a little bit overwhelming. But fortunately, everyone on the on the Discord and on other social platforms, everyone's been helping each other and trying to get up to speed. But it is certainly quite difficult to get used to, and these amateur guys will be sort of the ones who we're probably going to see improve the most over the course of the 6-race season.
Yes, Detio Ari is about to start his first flying lap of the day, coming across start finish here into turn 1. Let's see, little downshift. Oh, car gets really twitchy, almost drifts through the first corner there. Needs to correct himself to try and get that second corner going. Now, flowing section of this track. A lot of inside curb taken there by Ari. In this portion of the track, you really want to keep the momentum of the car going. A lot of tire smoke coming off the tires there. He's working those tires to the absolute limit of traction. Now, over the hill.
And these are obviously front-wheel drive cars as well, so especially those fast-flowing corners, it's very difficult to balance them, and they have a lot of off-throttle oversteer. So as soon as you lift off, the car actually turns a lot because of the weight transfer, and that's something that drivers have to get used to compared to a normal rear-wheel drive car.
Yeah, definitely. Through the hairpin now. Now the section running up to Spoon. His first sector was purple, so fastest of everybody that has set a lap time, but nobody has set a lap time yet, so it's pretty much purple for everyone. But still a decent first sector, I believe, comparing it to other times. First times are starting to come in now, I believe.
Yeah, first times are coming. We've got about 6-7 drives at the moment, and at the moment we got Hendamo, who is on pole position with a 6.2 at the moment, 2 minutes 6.2.
Yeah, there you can see it in the tower. Now the two Audi braking hard for the Casio triangle. I don't think it's going to be the fastest lap that we see today from Adi, but he's definitely got a lap time in there. 2 minutes 8.139.
Senam drivers getting their first laps in, and we've already got a field spread of about 5.5 seconds from the absolute fastest to the slowest driver, who's currently completed a lap. But as we mentioned, being in the amateur category, there is going to be a little bit more spread, and the fast drivers that we've got will be out in that pro class a little bit later on. But the main thing for this track really is that because it is a fairly long track, there will be some drivers who are now going for their outlap, and they will take obviously a couple of minutes to get around. But there's probably time to get, I would say, maybe even 3 hot laps in here.
Yeah, I would say there's time enough, as Rasanta just finished his lap personal best, 2 minute 9.6. Still a few drivers that haven't set any lap time so far. Rio Ahmad, one of them, currently coming through the hairpin. He's here on board with the Honda Civic Type R 2018 Sport. I think great fun car to drive, and obviously quite quick around the track like Suzuka. You can see how these drivers set quite quick lap times. Rio Ahmad out of Spoon now, up the hill and coming into, well, I would almost say one of the most famous corners in motorsports. A little bit of a lift through there. Now it's going to be braking hard for the Casio triangle. Down the hill, once again over start finish. And he sets his last lap time as a 2 minute 8.391, putting himself in P17 at the moment. Our apologies, the tower at the moment isn't working quite correctly. We're trying to get that sorted as soon as possible, but definitely shows the correct fastest guy at the moment, which is still Raditya Hendarmo.
Yeah, I think a number of drivers now are getting onto their second hot lap, and it's quite good to see actually how close it is at the top. We've only got just over 1/10 of a second covering the top three, so I think we could see a pretty close race between these guys at the top anyway. And one of the main points for the race really will be is, are you going to have to make a pit stop for tyres? Because these are sprint-based cars, so the tyres don't last that long. And that will be certainly something to fact out. So not just can you be quick in qualifying, but can you make it to the end of the race without making a pit stop? Because one would assume in a 20-minute race, it's going to be quite difficult to make up the time that you lose from changing those tyres. So that's something that we have to look out for as well. But currently second place man, Jason Sapucha, is on a personal best in that first sector, half a second up on Hendarmo as well. So I think this is potentially going to be quite a good time for him as he comes through that hairpin. And you can see from the offboards as well, the inside rear tyre lifts off the ground as you come through these tight corners. It's quite fascinating how these front-wheel drive cars work. It is something a little bit different. There aren't too many cars, but these sports class cars are certainly a very interesting one indeed. And as we come out onto the back straight up to 130R, we will get the second time split, and then we will see what happens. In third place man Shaquille, he has not improved on his second lap, but nor does Hendarmo as well. Hendarmo is just a little bit further up the road. He does not improve as well. So can Saputra get onto that pole position? He's only 0.03 of a second off the pole position at the moment, and he's going through this fun chicane, tricky little chicane. Got some big curbs, and now you've got to keep it fairly tight as you come down to the start-finish line. Where is he going to put himself? Can he get himself on pole position? No, he cannot, but he will have time for another lap.
Yeah, indeed, you saw those brakes glowing red hot coming into Casio Triangle. Of course, a tough task for those brakes to get the car stopped in time from such a high speed. But of course, he managed to make the corner and still got a lap time in. Unfortunately, not enough to put himself on that provisional pole position. But like you said, he still has got time to do another lap, as do most of these other drivers. Let's see if there's anybody on a hot lap right now. I believe Audi Devanugra is on a lap coming through Spoon at the moment. Almost lifting off there on the exit. Takes the inside curb a little bit too aggressively, and you could see those inside tires lifting off the tarmac. He's improving in the first sector. Let's see what the second sector time is. Also personal improvement so far. Very sideways through there though. That's not going to help his lap time as we break into final corners. And out of the final corner, down the hill, coming to start finish. See what he's able to do. A 2 minute 6.9 up to P7. and he has got still enough time to do another lap, I believe.
He does. Just over 3 minutes to go in the session. And so obviously the drivers will be trying to improve as much as they can, because obviously that will help your starting position. And we do have currently 29 drivers out of the 30 in the class. So there will be potentially one more person for the race next week as well. But someone who is improving is Richard Matthew, 10th place at the moment, coming through 130R, really smoking those tyres, getting the rear sliding. And now into the final chicane. Got to be careful to not hit the curbs too much, especially on that first apex. He's improved in the first sector, slightly slower in the second, but where can he go? Is he going to move up? Yes, he goes to 7th place on a 6.9, so it's actually pretty close. 1 second covering the top 11.
Yeah, also his last sector was purple there, so fastest of anybody so far on this track, at least today. So that's definitely got some potential there. Perhaps if he is able to squeeze in another lap time, but I don't think he will be able to get to start finishing time to do another lap. Trinio Ferry is going to be able to do one more, however.
The fastest qualifier in the AM category, so P31 overall, was Eric Chandra, currently down in 9th position. But he is improving on this next lap, currently doing a 2 minute 6.9, 7/10 off. And as I said, unfortunately, you can't quite see that in the tower, but we will obviously let you know where some people are. And yes, Eric Chandra in 9th, 7/10 off. Is he going to improve in this second sector? The split is all the way down under the bridge as we come to the end of this back straight. And is he going to improve? Yes, he's purple in the middle sector, so I think Eric Chandra could be looking at getting a much higher, potentially even on provisional pole as he comes into the final chicane.
We go aggressively over the curbs, almost rolling the car, but now out of the final corner. Let's see what he's able to do. Coming to the line, takes the shortest line as possible. Third it is for him. Great lap time, 2 minutes 6.313 for Eric Chandra.
And someone else improving is Shaquille, P4 at the moment. He's got a personal best in that middle sector coming into the final chicane. He will, unless he continues, he will not have time for another lap. What can he do as he comes around the final corner? Can he get himself on the front row? No, he goes to 3rd position, so drops down Eric Chandra into 4th place. But another purple sector's come in. We've got Jason Saputra in 2nd place, has got purple. But we also have Karthubi in 15th place coming out of the final corner. He's also improving on his time. 2 green sectors, meaning he's improving compared to his last time. Yep, he goes up into 11th place.
Chiputra, 2nd sector isn't great. It means he's going to have to prove himself in this final sector if he wants to get that provisional pole position. He doesn't need much time. Only a few hundredths of a second, but still needs to find it. Coming out of the final corner now. What is he going to be able to do? Across the line, and it's not enough. It's not enough for provisional pole position. Only just though, a few hundredths behind Radica Hendarmo, but he will be starting from 2nd place. And a great qualifying by Hendarmo so far. Still a few drivers on the track, but I don't think they will be challenging for pole position.
Yeah, a couple of green personal bests are coming in. One of the first guys we looked at, Deto Ari in 15th place coming around the final corner. Is he going to improve? Yes, goes to 7th place. Nice improvement there. Up from 15th. And also just behind him we've got Moko Dompitz coming around P21. No, doesn't improve his time there. Stays in 21st place. Sathya 15th place now coming into the final corner as well. Is he improving? Yes, he is improving in that middle sector. Now around the final corner, keeping it nice and tight as they all are. Get maximum speed out of this car. Goes up into 14th place, and just behind him, I think the final person to come across the line is going to be Devan Raguth. Devan Rugatha in 11th place. Where's he going to go? Stays in 11th. And I think that is everyone who's finished their qualifying times. Everyone else is on their in-lap.
Yeah, indeed, everybody done their qualifying, and it is it's been a great qualifying session so far. On the pole position, it is Radija Hendarmo, as we can see here all the times now with the gaps. Second place, Jason Siputra. In third, we've got Shaquille. It's very close there at the top. There's not even a tenth between the top four. Chandra in fourth. Dondo Kambe in fifth. He's a bit further down with almost half a second. Sixth, Mada Antkia. Seventh, Decho Ari. Eighth, Alvi Shahab. Ninth, Muhammad Hari. And in 10th, we've got Richard Matthew.
Yeah, so pretty close actually between some of those drivers, especially for that top four guys, under 1/10 of a second. So I think in this 20-minute race, we're going to get quite a close battle, I think, between these guys. And we now have 30 cars as Colin Louis joined just at the end of the qualifying session, but he will be starting from the back, not setting a time. But yeah, I think, Felix, we're looking like we're going to get a pretty close race in this amateur category.
I think we definitely will, as we are going to go racing in just a little bit. We're going to get racing for how long, Cameron?
20 minutes for the amateur drivers.
Right, 20 minutes of racing coming up after this.
The power of dreams.
And so the drivers are just now in a warm-up session between the qualifying and the race, which means they can put in their race fuel and get a bit used to the slightly bigger fuel tank for the 20-minute race that we will get here for the amateur division as well. So yeah, 20-minute race, and I do believe we may see one or two pit stops here. It's not mandatory. They can just go straight to the end. They don't need to refuel. In fact, refueling is not allowed. It's physically just not there in the car. So they need to take the amount of fuel that they need for the full 20 minutes. But because it's a 20-minute race, you don't necessarily know how many laps it's going to be, because depending on the exact pace, you may get one extra lap. But I think we're looking at potentially a 9-lap race here, maybe an 8-lap if they go really quickly. So that is something that we need to look out for. And yeah, maybe a pit stop is going to be coming in, but you will lose quite a bit of time, because I think it's 20 seconds to change the tyres plus another 20 seconds to go through the pit lane. So are you really going to make up 40 seconds? Who knows? But if you need to make a pit stop, then maybe that's what we'll see happen.
Yeah, I think it's like you say. I think most drivers will just be going from start to finish without doing any, because the loss is quite a lot, and it's only a 20-minute race, so only about 9 or 10 laps. So you don't really have the time to make back the time that you lose in the pit stop. But who knows? Maybe somebody that had a bit of an incident at the start of the race thinks that he will have an opportunity to actually gain back that time because he knows he's quicker than some of the drivers in the back of the pack. Of course, in this amateur series, the spread is a bit bigger than all the top drivers that we're going to see a little bit later on in the Pro Series. But of course, I'm very excited to see what's going to happen. The warm-up is about 50 seconds left, and then we're going to go racing.
Yeah, we certainly are. And just remember, straight after this amateur race, there'll be a couple of minutes, but then we'll jump to the Pro class as well. So we're getting both classes back to back. There will be not much of a break in between them, so we'll go straight into the Pro qualifying as well. So we're getting both classes for you in this live stream. And so for those who are potentially a little bit new to R-Factor as well, we will have a formation lap. So once we go to the race session, you'll see all the drivers grid up. So they leave the garage and the car will be placed on the grid on the start-finish line, and then they will do a lap just like in real life to go around, heat up tires, heat up brakes, check whatever they need to check, and then they'll come get into their grid spot, and then obviously the lights will come on and the race will commence from there. And I think turn 1 here is going to be quite a tricky one because the tyres are going to be pretty cold, the brakes are going to be pretty cold, so I think we might see 1 or 2 incidents in this first corner.
Yeah, especially the second part. Maybe you can call it turn 2 even. That's gets tight, of course, as we've seen as well in a lot of real-life racing series. It can get quite tight, and some contact can be made. Of course, these are closed cockpit cars, so there's not going to be any interlocking wheels that it's going to cause any cars to go flying, but still, a bit of a bump can send you a long way off the track and into the gravel trap, which are still available here in the Suzuka circuit.
The drivers now getting onto the grid. They have 30 seconds to get onto the grid, and if they don't make it, they will have to start from the pit lane, which is not ideal, obviously. But I believe everyone still got 2 more drivers to make it on the grid, so hopefully they make it so they get onto the race. But we actually have 31 drivers now, as someone else must have joined in that warm-up session. So we've got everyone here because also HM Engineering's owner, Haris Mohammed, is also taking part in this race. He's down in 28th position. And actually, Marko Dompit has not made it to the grid, so he will have to start from the pit lane in P21. But everyone else now is coming around their formation lap. So the pole position man, Hendamo, can dictate the speed. He can go as fast or slow as he wants within reason. So he will lead them around, and hopefully everyone has also worked out enough fuel for the race, including the formation lap. But that is why we have a test race, so these drivers can get a feel for how a race weekend is going to unfold and how all the sessions work.
Yeah, of course, that's what this is for, and I hope these drivers do get the chance to really get some experience with these cars, with the other drivers on the track, with the way that the series is running. I hope everybody at home is also enjoying the live stream so far, and getting hyped up for the actual season, which will be coming very shortly as well, of course. Halfway almost through this first formation lap of the series, to say it like that. Of course, all the amateur drivers getting their tires warmed up, their brakes warmed up, getting mentally ready for this race. I think this formation lap can be sometimes the most tense part of a race, considering what the rest of the race is going to be. But we're just thinking about all the things, making sure that the car is completely ready, and also yourself is completely ready, because the lights are going to go out at some point, and you need to get the quickest reaction as possible, of course, to get the best start as possible.
So we do have Ignatius Marko Dompit sitting at the end of the pit lane, so he will be able to take the start. But yeah, you are correct. This is potentially the most tense moment of the the whole event, because everything that you've practiced. I mean, as I said, there was 2 weeks of pre-qualifications just to get to this stage, That only finished about 12 hours before the practice session as well, so everything has been fairly sort of building up to this moment, and now you want to not make any mistakes. You want to try and get a race victory, or even getting as high up in the order as you can. But now, as you see, they're getting to the start-finish line for this test race here. No points or prizes to be awarded. However, you obviously want to get a feel for your competitors as they are now lining up. We got Muammar in P31 coming around the final corner, and once he takes his place, the lights will come on. Got a couple of drivers out at the back getting in their grid positions. Someone has actually got into the pit lane, so he will not be starting from the grid. He will also be starting from the pit lane with Marco Dumpit as well. But let's see what these drivers do as the lights will come on in a moment. And we got Nicholas Argo's already out of the race. He's back in the garage, so we've got a couple of drivers not being on the grid. But here we go, the lights come on. We've got 2, we've got 3, we've got 4, now 5 red lights. And who is going to lead the test race of the amateur category coming down into turn number 1? It seems like Herdamo's got a very good jump coming down towards turn number 1. He's leading the way, but Saputra is on his inside nicely. And it seems like they're all filing in pretty well. Haven't seen any major contacts yet, although we actually got a bit of a half spinner there in the background. Someone is off wide at turn number 2. We got Andika there in P13. He's dropped down a little bit as well, but at the front, they're all looking like they're getting through pretty nicely so far.
Yeah, a few incidents here and there, but I don't think any big contacts or big crashes so far in the first couple of corners of this 20-minute race. Of course, Andarmo still leading the way so far. Great start from him. Driver behind him, Jason Siputra and Shakil, also still in their respective starting positions as we come out of the first sector and into the second sector. Now, this is where perhaps some drivers are going to try into the hairpin, of course, hard-braking section. Alexandra and I believe somebody else.
Oh, Chandra's gone off.
Yeah.
Yes, Chandra's gone off at the hairpin. There's someone else who is on the. Oh, some other cars getting involved. Nicholas Argo is getting involved as well. Some contact back here. We got Julius off, I think. Even more spinners as these drivers try and work their way around each other at the back. We've got Adru Achaman at the back as well, P31. He looks like he's got suspension damage, so he will need to come in for some repairs as well.
Yeah, back a little bit more to the front. Andika is going for a move here to run through the R. Is he going to make it stick? Ooh, side by side through here. That's really tight, boys, but really cleanly done. And great move there by Andika. Now coming into the Casio triangle, you can see a few drivers behind them braking late, trying to make some positions here, just outside of the top 10. Now coming across start-finish line at full speed for the first time. Still very close at the front, and also here just outside of the top 10. The battling is going on very hard.
We have got battling here. We've got Afiat coming side by side with Chaser into turn number 1 and 2, and I think Afiat just got pushed out a little bit there in turn number 2, and he's actually lagging around a little bit, which might have been part of the reason for that, but Chaser is through into 7th place. And this top lot is actually staying pretty close together. It seems Herdamo may not be quite as fast on race fuel as these guys are all over the back of him.
Indeed. All these guys pretty much the whole top 6 also behind Andarmo. Andarmo not really able to make a big gap to Shakil, who made a position already up from Siputra. As now Siputra is trying to go around the outside of the hairpin there. It's going to lose him a little bit of time compared to the driver behind him, Dodo Kambe. Still very close to each other, also on their rear bumpers. This gave Andarmo a bit of breathing space. Ciputra didn't have the best run through Spoon there. Kambe is trying to find his way past him now. He'll have the slipstream. Coming down the back straight. Coming up to 130R. Is he going to try it around the outside? We saw Dunn a little bit earlier in the last lap. Ooh, a bit of contact made there on the back straight. A bit of a squeeze there from Ciputra. And Kambe touched the rear bumper there and they almost spun around. Now it's going all tight into the Casio triangle. Again, a little bit of contact made there, but everybody bunching up now because of that little incident on the back straight.
And Shahab has now got into third place. He got past two drivers there as, Donakombe just touched the rear of Ciputra, and in a front-wheel drive car, that is what happens. As we actually have a battle for the lead now. Shaquille going on the inside of Herdamo into turn one. Herdamo's actually being pushed out a little bit. Can he save it? Yes, he can. So he's going to keep that second place, but Shaquille has now got up into the lead of the race, and that was quite a nice move there down into turn number one. Little bit of contact though, so Herdamo got pushed out, but they've now got a little lead to Shahab as well after that battling. Always Karthubi, 7th place, has now gone off, so he's going to drop down. We're just going to give that place back to Donakambe as well.
Yes, you need battling going on all over the place. We unfortunately cannot look at all the position at the same time, so we'll probably miss a little bit of battling, but great to see such an action-packed race already, only in the first 5 minutes.
And that's certainly one thing that these types of cars can do. They generally generate this quite close racing, and we've certainly seen that in the first few laps here, as the drivers are still trying to work their way out into some sort of comfortable position. And now the top 5 or so have sort of just spread out a tiny bit because of the battling, but just behind them there's still some places. We've got Matthew trying to get past Chaser, and also Afia getting past Ndika, or potentially on the next lap or so, because they're starting to get really close coming up into Spoon Corner. And this is really an important one because this gets your exit out onto the back straight. It looks like Matthew is going to get a much better exit than Chaser here, and if he stays in that slipstream, might be able to get a bit of a run coming up to 130R. Just behind them, we've actually got Afiat trying to get side by side with Andika. Tries to get around the outside. That is not going to work. He's going to go way off the track. Can he keep it on? But he's actually lost another place, I believe, to someone there. Oh no, not quite. Didn't quite lose that position. Managed to keep that going. As we now have Matthew all over the back of Chaser again. Now coming onto the start-finish straight for completing the third lap.
Very close here coming into the first corner. Matthew still under big pressure from Andika behind him. Ooh, a bit of a lock up there from the driver in front. That was Chiesa. He lost the position to Matthew now. Ooh, contact made coming into the third corner, the first of the S's. And Matthew cutting straight across the track there. Probably gained a little bit of time. But drivers all behind him now trying to get past him already.
And Ndika there dropped down into 11th place because he went off with Matthew as well. And this this battling has let there be a little bit of gap now between 5th and 6th place. Matthew's a couple of seconds behind Don de Cambe in 5th. So yeah, drivers are battling all the way here down multiple positions.
Yeah, great to see. Now let's see, coming into the hairpin, is anybody gonna make the dive? Ooh, almost there. Chiesa onto Matthew. Afiat did get past Chiesa there, because Chiesa made the lock up there coming into the hairpin. Now Chiesa is going to try and go around the outside of Spoon. Perhaps there's a little bit better exit, but that's going to be tight. He's gonna try though, late braking. Ooh, locks up once again. Those tires are not going to be happy with him.
When he rejoins quite nice here, but yeah, he's locked up a number of corners now, so I do wonder if he's overheated those front tyres, as you can do, and now Andika is going to be coming alongside him up into 130R as well. But that's something in a front-wheel drive car that is very important, because the front wheels obviously do the acceleration and the turning, so they're doing two jobs, which means if you accelerate too hard coming out of a corner, you're going to really heat them up, and heat is not good once you get to the extreme levels. And I think we might see a bit of a move here coming down to turn number 1. As Afiat had a pretty bad exit out of that chicane. Although he's actually seemed like his top speed is fairly good, so he must have less rear wing actually. Look at that, he's actually pulling away despite the slipstream for the car behind of
Ooh, big contact in the back there. Somebody into the wall on the start-finish straight.
Chaser. Oh, he's lost a wheel. He's lost a rear wing and a wheel for Chaser there. He's going to be out of the race. There's always. I think he's going to try and continue. He will be able to repair that, I believe, but it's probably best that he retires with all that damage, because that's going to be difficult.
Let's see if we can get a replay of that event.
Hefty impact.
It's a little bit too far back. Let's see if we can get it with Jessa. No, I don't think so. Let's try once again. Yes, this is a little bit too far forward. Here we go. So, here we were on the start-finish straight. What happened? I think one of the drivers went right so much. Ooh, yeah, I think it's Jessa actually went a little bit too far to the left, cut across that other driver and then straight into the wall. That's big damage on that Honda Civic Type R. He needs to go back to the garage and come fix it, I think.
Let's have a look. Is he trying to get around? Yes, he is trying to get around. As we had, yes, we had one retirement on that first lap. So only one retirement so far, as we've completed 4 laps here over 10 minutes. But I think Chaser is going to struggle to get past, as we are now working our way to the end of the 5th lap, with Shaquille leading by almost a second to Herdamo, and looking fairly comfortable there at the front for the moment anyway. So we've still got some battles here. A bit further down, we've got Matthew still getting up to Saputra, but that gap has opened up quite a lot. There's now 3.5 seconds between 4th and 5th place. So because of all that battling and incidents that have happened, just let the top 5 get away a little bit, but I don't think that battle is over between Matthew and Saputra, as they also have Afiat not too far behind them as well. So these drivers are going to be battling all the way towards the end.
The top 2 though, or the top 3 I should say, Alvi Shabab is getting really close to Andarmo. Andarmo, of course, started this race from pole position. Already lost first place to Shaquille. Perhaps he's going to lose second place now as well to Shabab.
I think this is going to be quite difficult to defend. Looking at the former Shabab now, Shahab actually getting very close indeed. He runs a little bit wide there, and I think this top 3 are going to be batting all the way towards the end of this race as well, because they are staying very close together. And although it's those little mistakes we saw on the exit of that hairpin, it just loses you that momentum coming up to the next straight. So you really need to make sure you're getting the exits of these corners perfect in these front-wheel drive cars.
Yeah, 7.5 minutes to go now. Time is starting to tick down, so if you want to make a move for the win, you've got to get it done and not too far. As I saw, did I see
Chasing.
Somebody? Oh, okay.
Yeah, he's now 1 lap down, trying to get back to the pit lane. So you can see he's already lost over a lap now to get back to the pit lane. So really, yeah, struggling there. But he has kept out of the way fairly nicely from a number of these drivers. Always, we now got Afiat trying to get past Matthew, but contacts in that chicane. And I think there could be... Oh no, he's actually got a bad exit from that. Although he's actually got the car behind him now. Devanu Graha is getting alongside. But look at Afiat in a straight line again. He has got way less rear wing than anyone else, because that top speed is quite incredible.
Yeah, it is indeed. That's helping him quite a lot on the straights, of course, but in the corners it's going to lose him out a little bit.
still not doing too bad in 7th place though, although as we've mentioned, there's no points here today. But this the event will be ran the exact same next week for the official round 1 of the season. So this race length and everything will be the same. So this will be a good place to test something a little bit more extreme to see if that works. And if you haven't seen, this is basically a 6-race schedule. Who we got here in 11th place batting? We've got Mohammed Harry battling Haris Mohammed into the 2 Degners there. 12th place for him, although he's going to go really wide. So Sathya is going to get alongside, coming up to the kink before the hairpin, and he's made that work there for 12th place.
Shakil still leading the race now. Behind him, Shabab and Herdama are still really close to each other as well. But Shabab not really able to find a place to get past Handarmo so far. He's got 5 minutes left in this race. So I'd say that's 3 laps to go now.
This battle for 5th is still going on. Matthew and Saputra went side by side into 130R, and now Afiat's trying to get involved again, as he always going to have a good run here on Saputra as he goes really wide in that second apex of the chicane. We know Afiat has good top speed, so can he make this work? But it looks like in the end maybe Matthew's got even more top speed than him. That is quite incredible, considering the poor exit that he got. Can Afiat get his nose down the inside turn number 2? No, he's going to have to sit there for another couple of corners at least. But these guys are really now closing up towards each other, and I think some action between these guys is going to happen, as there's about 5 cars battling for this 6th position.
Yeah, great to see so many drivers close to each other. Let's see who will come out on top with 4 minutes to go. Afiat taking a lot of inside curb there through the Degner. The first Degner, I should say. Let's see, we know his top speed is quite good. We know Matthew's top speed is also quite good. Matthew is gonna go for a dive up the inside there. Saputra is now side by side almost with Richard Matthew. So Matthew now starting to closing in, coming up to Spoon. Let's just stay closer through this corner, then he can use... Oh, he even goes up the inside there. A bit of a mistake from Saputra. It's going to allow Afiat as well alongside him. Still side by side coming out of Spoon there, but I think Afiat has got the position done there.
And pretty good move for him. Getting up nicely into 6th place. And now he needs to chase down Matthew to see if he can get that 5th place. But the guys are still battling behind as well. Saputra's having to defend here quite a lot from 2 drivers now, or potentially even 3, as they now come out onto this start-finish straight. Devanu Roha is coming now. He's actually got a decent run. Can he stay close enough coming down into the first corner as we start lap 9 of the race? He's going to get a lot closer, but I don't think he's going to be close enough unless he dives it down the inside, which he's thinking about. And he's actually managed to get his car there, so he should be good for this second apex. If he can then get a good exit speed, he might be able to get past Saputra, but now he's going on the outside of turn 3. Is he going to get the move? Yes, he has. That was a nice move there. And Saputra drops down another position.
At the front, the battle is also still going on between Handarmo and Shabab. It's going to be close to the line, I think, actually, whether we're going to get another lap or not. It's all about when Shakil crosses the line. If the timer already hit 0, then it's the finish flag. If it didn't hit 0 yet, then we're going to do another lap.
And Saputra just lost another place to Rio Loho and also Haris Mohammed. Haris Mohammed, who started, remember, from 28th position, has worked his way up. Now Andika's gone past Saputra as well, as Mohammed Hari drops out with fuel troubles, and now Satya's coming past Saputra as well. I wonder if Saputra's miscalculated his fuel, just like Mohammed Hari, and is having to save a little bit because he's just been overtaken by all these cars here.
Yeah,
as
or his tires.
Afiat gets close to Matthew now.
Yeah, I would maybe also think tires, because we saw Saputra locking up those tires a bit too often perhaps, and especially because it's already a front drive car. If you lock them up as well, you're going to have squares for wheels, and I'm pretty sure that's not as efficient as having proper rubber tires.
I think we will get one more lap, as they're going to cross the line within 40 seconds. So we're going to get a 10-lap race here for these drivers, as we now come on to start that final lap. Yes, there's going to be about 20-something seconds, so we will do another lap, and Shaquille is going to have to work their way around, and I do hope that the drivers allocated enough fuel for that. We also already saw Mohammed Hari dropping out of the race, so he was about 2 laps short on fuel, and surprisingly Hari was only the second person to DNF. That is amazing, to see only 2 DNFs so far from this grid. As they now come onto the final lap, Herdamo needs to catch up over 1 second to Shaquille, as Matthew now going with Afiat side by side coming into turn number 3. Who is going to come out on top? Afiat in the blue car. Can he hold it around the outside of turn 3? Yes, he can. And he's got past Matthew there for 5th position.
But it's the last lap. I don't think Matthew is going to give up that easily. He's going to fight for it in these last couple of moments of this race.
It's now gone down to 0, so this is it. As soon as they cross the line, this will be race over. So this is the final lap, the final chance for these drivers, as Afiat goes wide and Matthew drops it down the inside of the second Degner. Afiat actually gets quite a good exit on the outside there and has managed to keep that position for 5th. Is anyone going to make a dive? Yes, Loho goes up the inside in the chicane. Big contact on the apex for 7th place. And now Haris Mohammed has got past both of these guys. Haris Mohammed is up into 7th place from pretty much the back of the grid. Is now Loho and Devanu Gratha going side by side, as Andika now getting involved as well, coming up into Spoon Corner. So Andika's now made up another position there, as also Satya comes past. So all these positions changing as we come into the final sector for the leaders.
Yeah, Shaquille, he's driven a great race so far, and he's gonna end it on a high, coming out of the final corner for the final time. And Shaquille is going to take the victory here in the amateur race. Great drive from him. Of course, it's only a test race, so there's nothing being won so far, but definitely a great drive from him.
Oh, loads of cars off in the final corner. Who is going to get on top? So we've got Afiat followed by Richard, Matthew, Haris Mohammed getting 7th place. Can he get 6th on the line? No, he stays in 7th. Andika in 8th. Satya in 9th. Devanu Graha in 10th. Loho in 11th. Saputra all the way down in 12th in the end, starting from pretty much the front of the grid. Then in 11th we got Nugroho. Then a little bit further back we got Kathubi in 14th. Nicholas Argo is in 15th. Mokadompit in 16th, starting from the pit lane. Wirawan in 17th. Trino Riferi in 18th. Ari 19th. Colin Louis getting 20th. And there's still quite a few drivers battling on this final lap as well. Got Myanmar starting from the back, got up into 21st. Chandra in 22nd after having quite a big spin at the start. And I think there's been some overtakes in the final corner. Got Prasanta in 23rd. Abissa Putra in 24th. Ahmad in 25th. Wiyaya in 26th. Julius all the way down in 27th, so still some drivers further down. Chaser will finish a lap down in 29th. Then Julius and Pranata also finishing their laps at the moment, but Shaquille had a fairly dominant victory there. He he overtook quite a few cars to get the lead, and then he pulled away by over 2 seconds. So I think Felix Shaquille might be the one to look out for when we get to the first race of the season next week.
Yeah, I think he's definitely the favorite for that now. As we saw, a very dominant drive. Well, I wouldn't say very dominant. He finished about a few seconds in front of Darmo, but definitely a great drive from him. And he's looking great so far for this track and this car, which is going to be the place where this first race of the season is going to be held. So I think he's definitely the favorite for that.
Certainly, indeed. But that is not all of the action today. In a moment, we will be moving over to the Pro session, where we will be getting a slightly long race, 40-minute race for those guys. But yes, until then, we will have to take a bit of a break just to swap over to the Pro class. And in a few minutes, we will be back to get you prepared for the Pro race. So we will see you in a few minutes.
The power of dreams. power of dreams. I am the front man who drives. My power keeps me ahead in the front line. My reputation gets me on the front page. This is how I drive superiority. By being in the front row. New Honda Civic Turbo.
Now, welcome to the Pro class. So we've just finished the amateur race, but we will now move to the Pro division, where we have a pretty much the same sort of the same idea, but just a bit of a longer race. As you see on there, Pro is a 40-minute race, so twice the distance of the amateur category. And we said that people might make a pit stop in the amateur category, but I'm fairly certain some people will in the Pro class, as those tyres especially will be not loving life by the end of that 40-minute race. But the drivers are now just on their outlap for qualifying here for the Pro class, and it's the same situation. We've got a 15-minute qualifying followed, that is private, followed by a bit of a warm-up before we get into the race. But Felix, certainly if that amateur race is something to go by, I think we're going to see quite a lot of action here from the top 30 drivers from our qualifying session.
Yeah, of course, these are the absolute top drivers in this championship. They're going to show us, I hope, even more action like the amateur class already did. But of course, they're going to be a bit quicker, a bit more experienced, and let's see what they will be able to show us.
Yeah, we'd expect these guys to be a little bit quicker. So as we mentioned previously, there was a pre-qualification for 2 weeks, and this is the top 30 drivers from the pre-qualifier, and I believe the gap between first and 30th was about 2 seconds. So we are potentially looking at a 2-minute 4 for pole position here in the Pro class. But we are looking at some of these drivers getting up to start their lap, and Dispo and Maulana were leading the practice session as well. As you mentioned, it's a private session, so these guys are all on the track on their own. They can't see the other drivers, so they can just go and do their laps themselves. So let's see what these pro drivers can do as they start their first laps.
Rahmat coming into the first corner for the first time. Let's see, pretty stable through there. Oh, as I say that, hits the curbs, drifts the car around. That's what you want to avoid there in the first corner. Just a little bit too much onto that outside curb and got the car unsettled. He's going to continue his lap. Let's see what he will be able to do then. Coming through the S's, of course. You can see these, at least Rahmat already being a little bit more, I would say, gentle on the tires than some of the amateur drivers. You could see a lot of tire smoke through here. Perhaps drivers are throwing the car around a little bit too much. Let's see though what Rahmat is able to do in this next sector of the track. First sector is pretty good for him so far, but of course you saw that mistake in there, so we'll have some extra time that he can pick up in his next attempt. Through the hairpin he comes. Now up to Spoon. Of course, difficult corner, a lot of load on those outside tires, and of course with the front tires also being the driven wheels, it's going to be difficult to get the car exactly how you want it to be. Now down the back straight, coming up to 130R. Second sector time coming in right there. I think it's definitely not a bad for a second sector. fastest of anyone that so far set a second sector. Now, last corner, Casio Triangle braking hard. You can see the brakes glowing red hot. Through the final corner he comes. What's it going to be for Rahmat in his first attempt? First time's already rolling in. Rahmat up to third.
Yeah, pretty good from him. Oh, wow, look at that. Only 2 and a bit tenths for the top 5 already as we get into the mid 1 minute 5. So this is, a little bit quicker than the amateur guys earlier. There are loads of times coming in now as drivers are coming to set their times. And obviously when it's the first lap, it's a little bit difficult to see the exact times because everyone is setting personal bests because it's their first lap. And even if it's a purple sector, it might not be the fastest that we will see in the end. But yes, Siswo leading the way on a 2 minute 5.6 ahead of Arwin Taruna by only a 1/10 of a second. So I think this one's going to be pretty close as well.
Hidayat coming through Spoon Corner. His first sector wasn't the best compared to some of the drivers at the top of the standings so far. But let's see what he can do in these next 2 sectors. Here, second sector time is coming to come here. About 3/10 off. So this lap time from Hidayat is not going to be pole position worthy, I think. But let's see how far up the field he can put himself. Out of the final corner he comes now. And across the line up to P12 for Hidayat so far.
So we're looking at this is quite an interesting field spread actually. The top 6 are within 1/4 of a second, but then it jumps about 3/10 to 7th place. We've got Farhan in 7th place, and then another 6 or 7/10 of a second to Edo in 8th. So there's definitely a split of those top 6 or 7 drivers before we get to the midfield. Such is the way that the times have worked out currently, with this being pretty much the longest lap that we will have in the series, at least in terms of lap times as well. That does generally spread out the field a little bit more. But we're looking at your current pole position man, Siswo, coming to start his next lap. He was quickest in the practice session as well. He's looking good, but he is now coming to start this lap. So let's see what he can do as he comes through the first sector. Really working that steering wheel as he comes now into turn 3 and 4, getting all over these curbs. And the main thing of being quick in a front wheel drive car is really using the gears and accelerator perfectly. You can't be as over aggressive as you can in some other cars. You have to have a bit of a delicacy to your inputs to keep the car nice and balanced, as these can be a little bit twitchy, and he's certainly done that pretty decently in the first sector. What's he done? Yeah, purple in the first sector, looking to improve as he now works his way out under the bridge up to the hairpin. Couple of cars out on track as well, only not even a 1/10, only hundredths of a second. We've got Taruna and Rahmat as well, doing almost identical first sectors. But it's Siswo who's got the fastest time so far, and he is the first car out on this second lap, so we'll keep with him to see what he does through Spoon Corner, hitting that first apex nicely. Can he get a nice exit out of the second apex? It's looking pretty good. Yeah, keeping it nice and clean. And that did look pretty nice first as well. We'll get the second sector time towards the end of this back straight. And then we can see what he's going to do. Purple again, so I think this could be pole position, as Maulana actually went to pole position 3/10 ahead of Siswo. So Maulana doing a 2 minute 5.2. So yeah, overthrew. Oh, Siswo hitting that inside curve a little bit too much, but can he keep his momentum? Rahmat has beaten him in the middle sector, so this is some fast times coming. Siswo goes to pole position now on a 2 minute 5.1. Taruna now out of the final corner. What can he do in third place currently? Stanley goes to second. Taruna now into second place. And Rakhmat now to pole. So loads of times coming in there. Pole position by only 9 thousandths of a second. So really close at the front here.
Yeah, indeed, very close at the front, and that's great to see, of course. Nicolaus Steven a little bit farther down the field at the moment, coming for a personal improvement. Let's see where he can put himself. Up to P9 at the moment. Ooh, as we see there, Mohammed Frikiaska are basically flicking the car through the Casio triangle. I'm sure that's not going to help his lap time. Coming over the line now. See what he's able to do now. Doesn't improve as a result of that mistake coming into the last couple of corners.
And Siswayo made that mistake in the final chicane, but he's only 9 thousandths off Rakhmat, so I believe he's going to have some more time in it, and we could be seeing Siswayo going for that pole position. But now we've got the top 5 all within about a 10th and a half of each other, so this is quite crazy. What can Maulana do? Oh, actually no, he's starting his lap because he is actually 1 lap different, so he must have made a mistake on an out lap. But we've still got another couple of drivers coming around to finish their next lap. We've got 7th place Dafa Ardeneza in 7th place, coming through the final corner. Front brake discs glowing all the way. What can he do as he comes to the line? Is he going to finally make an improvement there? Yes, goes up into 6th place.
I can see as well on his 2nd attempt so far. 7th place at the moment. Hits the inside curb through onto the R a little bit. I think didn't lose him too much time. Last corner needs to be good for him to move up a few positions. Out of the final corner goes. He's got about 4 tenths to Maulana. Let's see what he's got now. It's not much, but he's got at least up to 6th past Ardianza for now.
And most drivers now working their way to start their next lap, which might be their final one as well. But someone who's on a lap is down in 19th place, Ferianto, and also just behind him, Timo Iskander in 20th place, and 19th and 20th are on laps at the moment. What can Ferianto do? Currently 2.6 seconds off the pole position on a 2, and it's 7.7. Now working his way out of the final corner. Quite a long way, so if you miss that chicane, then you will lose time, and he does not improve, so he stays there in 19th place.
Timo Iskandar down in 20th at the moment, looking to improve on his lap time. I don't think he'll have enough time to do a lap after this, so this probably will be his final attempt as he comes down the back straight, coming up to 130R. Looking good so far. Probably will be improving on his lap time, but how much is it going to be? Let's see, coming through this final section of the track. Not taking as much curb as some of the other drivers through the Casio triangle there, but now down the hill up to start finish rate up to P13 he goes.
And we got the leaders now coming on to what will be their final laps. Got Taruna doing a personal best, Siswayo and Rakhmat also doing good first sectors. So there might not be some purple times, but there's still some decent sectors. Siswayo all going really wide there in 130R, all the way off the track, in fact. So I don't think he's going to be improving. Yeah, really messed up. This is not going to be improvement from him. However, Taruna is looking good in that first sector. Personal best in the in the second sector. What can he do? Third position at the moment, 2 minute 5.2. Only a 10th off. If he can do a good final sector, he might be able to get pole position here. Using all the curb there in that final sector. What is he going to do as he comes to the line? Can he get himself on pole position? Yes, he can by half a 10th of a second, as Siswayo and Rakhmat actually share second place at the moment. They got the exact same time in second place, and the game has given Swoyo as being in second, obviously having a ever so slightly faster lap time. As we're now seeing the final couple of laps come in. Who's next? We've got Farhan in 8th place, 2 minutes 5.9 at the moment, goes up to 7th on a 2 minute 5.6. Fikri Azka in 18th place, currently improving on his time out of the final corner. Where is he going to put himself up to 14th place? And who else is on a lap? We've got Siswoyo going back out, but he's not going to be able to start a lap as the session has closed. Got Michael Christian in 16th place at the moment, making some improvements on his lap in the purple Honda Civic. Where is he going to put himself up into 10th place for Michael Christian?
Ardianza has got a really nice second sector in his car there, in his final attempt. Let's see what he's able to do across the line for the final time. Up to 5th even. If he had as good of a first and third sector as he had in the second sector, he might have been able to get even further up the grid. But now Maulana, he's also really quick in the second sector. Braking for the final corner, big little lock up. Perhaps a bit too aggressive into the corner there. Very aggressive over the curbs once again. We saw Maulana almost flip the car earlier on. Now coming to the line, what is it going to be for him? 4th place for the moment.
Yeah, 4th place for him. Kenzie stayed in 7th place, crossed the line at pretty much the same time. We got Pratama in 19th place. Is he going to stay? No, he stays there. So only 2 cars out are Stanley and Siswoyo, but I believe... Oh no, Stanley is on the lap. Stanley is on the lap. So here's the final car. Siswoyo wasn't. He has now pressed escape back to the garage. What is Stanley going to do? Doesn't improve compared to himself in that middle sector, sending it through 130R there. Can he keep it quick through this final chicane? Not using quite as much curb, but certainly a very nice exit. Where is he going to put himself? He's only 1.8 tenths off the pole position. Where is he going to go? Stays in 5th place. But once again, look how close that is. 2 tenths for the top 6 and only 1 second for the top 9. So we are looking like we're going to get a very close race here. And I think the pro race is going to be just as exciting as the amateur race earlier.
Yeah, I think so indeed. As you can see here, the results on your screen. Tarana taking pole position with the best lap time of a 2 minute 5.093. Great lap by him. Siswoyo right behind it with only 55,000 of a second. 55,000, sorry. Fadili Rahmat behind that with basically the same time as Siswoyo, but the game decides just a little bit slower, even less than 1,000 of a second. So that's a little bit unfortunate for Rahmat, and I think Siswoyo will be very happy about that. Rama Maulana, he's in 4th. Stanley in 5th, very close behind him as well. Adrianza not very far behind that, either in 6th. Genzi, then it's a little bit more of a gap to him in 7th. Then Farhan in 8th. Muhammad Andri in 9th. And closing off the top 10, just over a second away, it's Michael Christian. So, Cameron, I think we're going to go racing in just a little bit. For how long is this race going to be?
So the pro race is 40 minutes, so it's twice as long as the amateur race. And we might have to see some pit stops, as we definitely saw the tyres dropping off at the end of the amateur race. But we will get you ready for that in a couple of minutes after these messages.
The power of dreams.
You're looking for a diamond in the rough. And I could be quite tough. Taking me higher. I'm fire.
Honda Civic Hatchback RS. Sexiness intensified. Experience RS. A pleasure in every drive.
And we're just about to go for the pro race. Just got a couple of minutes left of the warm-up session, but something we haven't actually gone through yet is the calendar. So, as we mentioned, it is a 6-race calendar. This is the test race, so no points for the drivers here. This is purely just to work through some any issues that might happen or whatever, drivers to get used to the race events. There's quite a few of these drivers are actually fairly new to the whole sim racing world. But what is the schedule going to be? So today, the 4th of July, is obviously the test race, and then next week we come back to Suzuka for the first race of the season, 11th of July. Then we have a 2-week break, and then we go to Sepang, Malaysia. Again, all the races will be, all the events I should say, will both have an amateur and a pro race. Then 1 week after that we will then head to Silverstone. Then we have a 2-week gap before the 15th of August, where we'll head to Interlagos in Brazil, followed by Zandvoort in the Netherlands, and finishing the season 1 week later on the 29th of August in Estoril, Portugal. So we got 6 of the best race circuits that we have in the world, and on R Factor 2 specifically as well. So I'm looking pretty forward to this. And it's going to be, going to be an exciting championship. We've got 60 of the best Indonesian sim racers out there who worked hard for 2 weeks to qualify themselves for this. And there's also a number of prizes that the different classes will win. We got prizes for the top 5 in both the amateur and pro class, with plenty of money to be handed out. I believe it's 20 million rupees for the winner in the pro class, and 5 million for the winner in the academy class. And then there's a descending amount for the top 5 as well. Also, they'll be getting trophies, so plenty of money to be fighting for. So thank you to Honda for the opportunity for this Honda Racing Simulator Championship, and also HM Engineering for organising it. And I think in a couple of minutes, once these pro drivers get underway, they're going to be fighting for every little bit of track, even though it is just a test race.
Yeah, of course. I think there were about 231 people that registered for this championship. Of course, like you said earlier, people had to pre-qualify to get into the series, and we're just gonna watch the best of the best going racing in just a few moments time. Warm-up session is almost finished. But like you say, of course, a massive thank you for the people making this possible. Of course, Honda and HM Engineering, but also everybody behind the scenes. That is Mohammed, Holly Hamlet, and of course also you, Cameron, Thomas, and everybody else who is involved behind the scenes in making all this nice racing happening. But I think warm-up session is about to be on, and we're gonna go racing in just a second, aren't we?
We certainly will, and just like the amateur race, the drivers will have to make sure they get gridded up, and one driver did not do that, so he had to start from the pit lane. I see we've got a run through of the grid here. We've got Taruna, Swoyo, Rakhmat and Maulana as the top 4. And ironically, they are car number 1, 2, 3 and 4 between them as well. So they were the highest qualifiers, as the car numbers were given from the qualification order from the pre-qualifying. So it's interesting that the top 4 drivers in the pre-qualifier are also the top 4 drivers here, which means it wasn't luck that got them there. They are definitely the fastest drivers here for these guys, as they will be gridding up in a moment.
I don't think the overlay is going to show us the rest of the starting order, unfortunately, but we'll just have a look at it like this, then, if we can get it like this. So indeed, Taruna was in first, Siswoyo second, Rahmat third, Maulana fourth, Stanley fifth, Ardiansa in sixth, Altaya Kenzie in seventh, Turbagus Ferhan in eighth, Muhammad Andri in ninth, Michael Christian in 10th, and then further down the grid we've got in 11th Mohammed Faiz Rayan. 12th, Nicolaas Steven. 13th, Ezra Arik. 14th, Timo Iskandar. 15th, Mohammed Fikri Aska. And 16th, Rainaldi Edo. 17th, Delianur Hidayat. 18th, Ikor Ahmad. 19th, Ferdian Atia Pratama. 20th, Indra Ferianto. And then the last 3 drivers, Reza Harianto, Gassan Aman Nurallah, and then 23rd, Haris Mohammed. Sorry if I mispronounce any of your names. Please correct me so if I do that wrongly.
Yeah, we will also do our best, but that is one reason why we have test races to sort this out. But yeah, Haris Mohammed starting from the back of the grid, the man who has pretty much orchestrated all of this. Obviously, Haris Mohammed being Mr. HM Engineering himself. And yeah, good to see he's getting involved in these test races. He won't be racing when we get to the actual championship. But yeah, obviously only 23 drivers, so a couple of drivers deciding not to attend the test race. But hopefully we will get them coming when we get to the first race of the season next week back here at Suzuka. But like in the last race, there is no fuel, so all the drivers here need to have taken enough fuel for the full 40 minutes of the race, and obviously the formation as well. And then potentially we're going to see some pit stops as well, because 40 minutes on a set of these tyres is starting to push it a little bit. I wouldn't be surprised if some people do attempt to stay out, because you have to make up quite a bit of time by making a pit stop. So we will have to see what happens between that. But they have had 2 weeks to prepare for the race, and this being a test race means that they can try whatever they want. They can try something a bit crazy on the strategy, a bit crazy on the setup, or whatever they want. They are now coming into the final sector with Taruna leading the way.
Everybody making sure their cars are ready for the start. Tires are warmed up, brakes are warmed up, driver is warmed up, of course. You need to react to those lights as quickly as possible, as we already said earlier at the start of the amateur race. Really slowing down now to make sure the field is bunched up so that he doesn't have to sit on the grid that long. Now coming out of the final corner, end of the formation lap.
Now I've got to see what these drivers can do, and I want to check is if anyone's actually going to use launch control, because I believe launch control is actually available in this car, and that could potentially be a benefit, because obviously front wheel drive is going to be quite difficult to get off the line. But we now have Haris Mohammed coming to line up for the final grid position. And then, as we had before, we have 5 red lights, and once they go out, we'll be racing for 40 minutes around Suzuka here for the Pro Class in the test race for the Honda Racing Simulator Championship. Once again, thank you to Honda for this opportunity for these drivers here from Indonesia to get a taste of some international sim racing level. Let's see what they do. 5 red lights. Taruna on pole. Can he lead down into turn number 1? And they have got away nicely. I think Taruna's actually got a pretty good lead there, so he's going to be leading the way quite comfortably down into turn number 1. Siswoyo having to defend a little bit from Rakhmat and Maulana. Coming down the inside of Rakhmat there for 3rd place. Maulana's making up positions already, as behind them they are getting through fairly nicely as well. No big contacts just yet, but we do have now Rakhmat fighting with Maulana. Oh, bit of contact there as Maulana keeps 3rd place for now. And then Rakhmat filling in there in 4th place, but those guys are getting feisty already. And it seems that everyone has got away fairly nicely at the back as well. I can't see anyone in a gravel trap And I think Mohammed Faiz Ryan is actually struggling a bit because I think he is potentially having some connection issues. But back at the front, Tarun is still leading the way. And now Maulana is all over the back of Siswoyo, and he might be able to make up a second position here. Diving it down the inside, or maybe out on the outside of the chicane. But no, actually Ragman now coming down the inside of Maulana. And they might actually go 3 wide on the exit. Oh, big contact there. Ragman gets hit to the inside. And he's going to have to fill in and try and get the slipstream up to Spoon Corner.
Yeah, big action there coming into the hairpin. A bit of contact made as well. Siswoyo still in second. Maulana has to watch out with Fahil Rahmat behind him.
And just any little mistake can let your opponent pass. As we saw at that hairpin, it got almost 3 wide. They've got to be careful with that, as we've got Kenzie and Andre back in 7th and 8th position fighting as well. But Andrew's now having to pull back into the slipstream as they now come to complete Sector 2 on the first lap. And Andrew's now going to go round the outside. Oh, big contact there as Kenzie had a bit of a wiggle on the curb, but Andrew keeps it down the inside. Although Kenzie hold it all the way around the outside. That's awesome defending there from Kenzie to keep that position in 8th as we now complete the first lap here. As we've got 10 laps in the amateur race, we're going to get something in the region of 20 for this pro race. Is anyone going to make a move down into turn number 1? Looks like no, everyone's staying pretty stable for now. And yeah, Faiz Ryan is, he's moving around, and I think he's still on the grid, so I think he has sort of half disconnected from the race. But not causing anyone issues, but he keeps moving up and down the timing screen. So I think, unfortunately for him, he might eventually be out of the race once that sorts it out. As now come towards Sector 2 for lap number 2. Well, I do wonder if Maulana is going to keep on trying to get up that position, although it's actually Ragmat who's now diving down the inside of the hairpin, just avoids a bit of contact there and gets a bit of bump from Ferris Stanley as well. And you might recognise these top few drivers. They actually participated in the Bathurst 120 that we had a couple of months ago, and they were fighting. I believe a couple of them actually got into the international class because of their ability, and they do race, especially I know Maulana and Stanley race in some of the higher R-Factor 2 competitions as well. These are no slow drivers at the front here as they work their way out now. Siswoyo getting very close to Taruna. Can he get down the inside of 130? No, he's just lifting off a little bit. So he's having to stay behind just for now, as Maulana's actually got a run on Siswoyo as he had to lift off. And these three all bit bumping there into the final chicane, and they're going to be nose to tail as they come down onto the start-finish straight.
Yeah, Maulana will have a bit of a slipstream now coming down the start-finish straight. I think Siswoyo doesn't really have much from the car in front of him, so we're going to see Maulana try it into turn 1, perhaps. Doesn't have the run and doesn't go for the gap so far.
Yeah, that's one thing with these cars, is that they don't have the most slipstream in the world, so you do have to focus on your exit out of a corner. You can't just rely on the slipstream to pull you along. You have to really work your way up to an overtake and get your lines and your exits perfect, as we now work our way up through Dunlop curve towards the two Degners, and Maulana once again getting very close. But can he finally make an overtake? Oh, he's got a bit of an exit here out of the hairpin. Left or right, which way is he going to go? He's going to dive it to the inside. Yes, he is, but actually Siswoyo's cut that off a little bit. And someone's gone a bit wide there. I think that's Ragmat has got a bit wide. So now Stanley's trying to get involved as well. These guys still fighting all the way. As we are now on to our lap 3 of the competition. Maulana, is he going to dive it up here? No, he's getting very close. Almost touching the back of Siswoyo. Coming into Spoon Corner. And this battling is letting Taruna get just half a second lead, which is just enough to not get any sort of slipstream as now Maulana. He's got to run, but he's going to have to go around the outside. Siswayo has blocked off that inside line. And Maulana actually bumped the back there, so he lost his momentum. As they come through 130R, is he going to make a dive around the inside or the outside? He's going to go for the outside. Oh, think about switchback, but no, he's having to sit there for now.
Great battling here between these drivers. Being patient, they know of course that there's still 33.5 minutes left in this race, so there's no point in doing a do or die move so early on in this race. So they're just trying to learn how the driver in front of them reacts. However, now Maulana was looking a little bit there into turmoil, but decided again to back out of it.
Yeah, these guys are staying so close together, as we saw in the amateur race as well. It is possible to keep these packs together, which is really good to see. And yeah, these drivers obviously having a couple of weeks to get used to the car. I know Haris Mohammed was sorting out various practice races and practice events during the qualification to get some of these newer drivers used to this car, used to racing, and how you have to manage your tyres, because that's one thing with R Factor 2 is you really have to manage the tyres, especially the temperatures. That is very important, and if you come out of a corner turning and flat out, all you're doing is spinning up the tyres and getting them really hot, and that's something quite critical in R Factor 2. So if you are a little bit new to the simulation or just new in general to competitive racing, getting the edge on your drivers with the tyres is certainly something to look out for. As they've only dropped another 10th to Taruna, so they're not dropping away too far this battle for second place at the moment. As Taruna once again gets a decent exit, but can he get a run up into 130R? Getting very close. He's going to have to brake a bit earlier. Actually, he doesn't, but Taruna's run a bit wide at the front, which could lose him a little bit of speed. And Maulana actually brakes fairly conservatively there into the Casio triangle. Doesn't quite get the best exits as well. He pulls away a little bit.
There's Stanley in the fifth, also trying to get past the driver in front of him. Rahmat doing well to defend that for now, down the start-finish straight there.
Yeah, he's staying very close there in 5th position. And he's looking actually pretty nicely, because he could just sit there and watch what is happening. He can, potentially save his tyres a little bit, or just, not push quite as hard because he isn't in a big battle. So if any of these drivers have issues ahead, they have contact or anything like that, then he can certainly make up some positions if other drivers start hitting each other off. But it's good to see that this top 5, 6, even with Ardenese behind them, that it looks like they're doing some nice, clean racing at the moment. So good to see some top-level sim racing here.
Yeah, really bunching up now as well behind Siswoyo. Rahmat, Stanley, Ardianza, all really close to each other and trying to find a gap to take the position from the guy in front of you.
Yeah, one thing that we're seeing between the difference between the pro and the amateur drivers is these drivers in the pro class are making a lot less mistakes. They are keeping their car nice and calm for the most part, which is one reason why there isn't quite so much hectic and chaotic battling, because they are keeping it nicely. But Maulana once again gets very close as Rahmat also bunches up with the concertina effect. But now can Maulana get the exit? He's a little bit closer. Once again, actually, struggling a bit to get close now coming down into turn number 1, as we've already had a quarter of the race, 10 minutes gone, and 5 laps completed. Though we actually have about almost 11 minutes gone now. Yeah, 11 minutes just gone, 29 minutes left in the race. And that's potentially why some of these drivers aren't making as crazy moves, is because they know they got a little bit longer to work it out compared to the amateur drivers.
Even better going on further down the field as well between Timo Iskandar and Ghassan Amanullah, sorry. Timo trying to find a way past. There was a bit of contact in turn 2 there, but I think Amanullah got past him on the straight, and it's now starting to drop back already a little bit.
We've got some batting here at the hairpin for 9th place. We've got Adri. Got Michael Christian all over the back of him. Farhan just up the road. There was a lot of dust being kicked up as they all went wide, and even Edo is behind them. But now Christian getting very close to Andri. Can he make a dive down the inside or spoon corner? No, backs out of that one. That's going to give Edo the opportunity to get up the inside between the 2 apexes of spoon. And that's exactly what happens if you make a small mistake. That is really how you make a move stick. And Edo could get 2 cars here as he's closing in, coming towards 130R in his Honda Civic. Can he get close enough? Not quite. It's just behind them. We've actually got some battling as well as no. Stephen keeps it. Now what's going to happen into the chicane? Edo's going to get very close to Andri, although Andri goes wide, so Edo's going to get a good exit here. Oh, I think, yeah, he's got past him on the exit. And Andri is going to be under pressure now from Christian for 10th position as it now comes side by side down into the turn number 1 start finish straight. And Andri has actually defended there from Michael Christian for 10th place.
Dives up the inside there, a bit of contact. Just slightly, but a bit of a tap on the rear of that light blue Honda Civic.
When it's still batting now, come on to Dunlop, and Christian's going to get just cut off a little bit there on the apex. Just going to have to try and find another way through, but that was pretty good from Edo, getting past both of those drivers, taking advantage of the opportunities that were presented to him. And that's exactly what you need to do if you want to make up positions. As looking back at Maulana, he's getting very close again to Swoyo. And Taruna hasn't got up the road.
Sorry. Bit of a mistake there from Andri. It's gonna allow Christian to try again. Very close, side by side, coming down the straight up to Spoon. Still side by side on the entry of the corner. So he breaks the latest. Andri is able to have the inside line, but runs a bit wide. Switchback there from Michael Christensen. He's made the move stick for now, but again, Andri has got a great exit out of Spoon there. Drivers behind him also starting to bunch up now. Who will have the upper hand coming into 130R. Still side by side. Andri has the line through 130R now. However, braking for the Casio triangle. The outside, is there going to be room? No, they both make the corner. Right behind it, Oscar and Steven also battling.
We've had some changes at the front. Maulana's got himself up into 2nd place, and a bit of a gap has been formed to Siswoyo, who's now defending from Stanley and Rakhmat. So Stanley got past Rakhmat in all of that as well. So quite big changes here in the top 5. They've all swapped over positions, and now Taruna's leading by over 1.5 seconds. So there must have been some big overtaking maneuvers that have caused such a gap to be spread, as Milana's now got a second gap to Siswoyo, and Stanley is there as well. So yeah, quite big changes going up and down the field. As you say, this battle you're looking at as well. We've got Stephen now getting involved with Andre as they come up to Degner 1. This is not a place you want to be on the outside for Andre, but is he going to try it? No, he's... Oh yeah, a bit of contact there, and this is going to give someone else, Fikri Azka, an opportunity to get down the inside as well. So another position lost there for Andre.
So the hairpin they come once again. We're almost halfway through this race, 23 minutes to go. And like you said, Cameron, we're probably going to see pit stops. When do you think they're going to be coming in? I'm guessing around the halfway mark is at least the benchmark for now.
Yeah, I don't know if they are definitely going to pit, but I did hear rumours that some people will potentially have to make pit stops. So you would assume that, yeah, they would probably pit around the half distance mark if they are, because they want to use those newer, fresher tyres to good effect. But who knows, we'll see what people are going to do. Potentially they could pit with about 10 minutes to go to make sure there's a bigger difference between the tyres as well. So we'll have to check that out and yeah, just see what they decide to do. But they do have to make up quite a lot of time if they do go for pit stops. So it's not the preferred strategy if you can avoid it, as now Azka, can he get down the inside of turn number 1? He's going to have to dive it on the brakes, but doesn't quite make it. Nicholas Stephen defending nicely there.
Behind that, Ferianto also battling hard with Andre. Andre lost, of course, a few positions just a lap or two ago. Now Ferianto trying to take this one away from him as well. Fairly Stanley is off the track there in the gravel. What happened there?
I didn't quite see, but I think he just went too wide into Degner 2. And that's given Ardiansa 5th position, and that's really spread out this top 5 as Tarun is leading by 1.1 seconds to Maulana. Then it's another 1.5 seconds back to Siswoyo. Then another second back to Rakhmat. And then another second again to Ardennese. So they've really spread out in this top 5 with all the battling that they've been doing. And that is, yeah, not ideal for these drivers. Well, once again, no points or prizes on offer today. But you certainly want to get... Was Ardennese is actually giving back that position to Stanley. So maybe Ardennese pushed off Stanley, which is one reason why he went off. But it certainly looks like he gave that position back.
Let's have a look if we can see what happened there here with Ferry Stanley. Incident happened in the Degners. Did he just run wide? Yeah, I think he just ran wide on his own. Or did he not?
Yeah, got on the grass.
Yeah, he just got on the grass, ran wide. I don't think anybody else is to blame for that.
I wonder why. It definitely looked like it was a purposeful manoeuvre there by Ardennese to let through Stanley. Unless they are friends and he wants to let Stanley through, who knows. But that's given Kenzie the opportunity. Oh, first pit stop. Michael Christian. First pit stop. 14th position. Dropping his way down. And let's see. There's only one compound of tyres, just for your information. So there's only a slick and a wet tyre. But it is quite a long time. So 21 seconds to change tyres. So he's going to have to make up a lot of time in the next 20 minutes. He's going to have to be somewhere in the region of 1 to maybe 1.5 seconds a lap faster to make up the time loss. Or it might actually need to be a bit more than that. So yeah, potentially even 2 seconds a lap quicker. So he is going to have to hope that other people make a pit stop, but that is certainly the first sign that pit stops will be taken in this pro class.
This is Royo battling hard now with Fadil Rahmat.
He was thinking about it there. He was definitely thinking about it there. Coming down Spoon Corner as they now work their way out onto the back straight, but that actually made Rahmat lose a little bit of momentum down this back straight up towards 130R. But I think he won't be able to make a move into the chicane on this time, but if he gets a good exit, he might be able to get it down into turn number 1 as he now gets a lot closer through the chicane. Will clunk the curb a little bit too much then. Lesiswaryev pulls away a little bit as Taruna goes across the line. Halfway through the race now, 10 laps gone. What can Rahmat do? Into turn number 1. I don't think he's going to quite get there. So he's going to have to try another way. A little bit further down, we've got a big battle here for 14th position. We've got Iskander and we've got Haris Mohammed as well. Coming down towards turn number 1, Haris Mohammed has made the move up the inside of Iskander. And Haris there,
Ooh,
15th place.
Is he sparking the car, is he? I think he is. Did he run out of fuel? I don't hear an engine. I think he ran out of fuel. Or something else with the engine. Seems like he's not continuing at least, so I'm not sure exactly what happened with him, but this battle for 14th is still going on with Muhammad and Iko Ahmad.
Fuel, yeah. The game is saying fuel as the reason for his DNF.
That's on the field by quite a bit, I would think.
He only took enough for a 20-minute race. He only took enough for 10 laps because that is exactly what he completed. Always we got Rahmat going off. And also Siswoyo going off in Spoon Corner, battling it out. They're now 3 seconds off the lead as they're fighting quite hard and losing a bit of time.
Yeah, the connection to the lead group is starting to fade away now. Of course, Taruna is doing a great job so far. And Maulana, even though he's a bit further behind him, definitely not too far behind to capitalize on any mistakes that might be made by the driver in front of him. As we are definitely past the halfway mark of the race, 16 minutes to go.
Oh, Rahmat's got a bit of a run here. Can he get his front nose down the inside? It's going to be quite close. He's going to have to do it on the brakes. No, not quite enough. Oh, but Siswoyo goes wide, and that is the mistake that Rahmat was waiting for. And now Rahmat has got himself up into 3rd place. Siswoyo dropping down a couple of positions from where he was at the start of the race, and is now there in 4th position with Ferris Stanley a couple of seconds behind. As we got another pit stop, Andri has come in. We also had Ezra Arik come in on the previous lap as well, so I think we're going to see a couple of pit stops. It just depends if these top drivers make the pit stops. So we've only had one DNF so far, which is Iskander. We had Mohammed Faiz Ryan, who didn't actually really compete because it seemed maybe a disconnection or some sort of internet issue with their connection to the race. He never really started, so 2 drivers so far have dropped out of the race. But at the front it looks, or has excuse me, has been fairly clean, and all the drivers going fairly nicely with not too much contact. But I do wonder if they're going to make a pit stop.
Yeah, indeed, it's difficult to say, of course, from our point of view, but I don't know. Let's wait and see. For the moment being, of course, Arwen Taruna still comfortably leading this race. He just needs to continue doing what he's doing so far and get to the end of the race with 14.5 minutes to go.
This long race is going to be interesting with how it works in this second half of the race, as we are obviously now 5 minutes longer than what the amateur race was. and how the tyres are going to work, how drivers are going to work. Because obviously 40 minutes is a decent, it's a decently long race, especially for a sprint series. It's starting to, push it towards that 1 hour mark, as we're now seeing Stanley get towards Siswoyo for 4th place as well. Is he going to get down the inside though? Not quite close enough. And the guys behind with Ardineza and Kenzie have dropped off quite a bit, and also Edo, if you remember, they were involved earlier on, but they've dropped off quite a bit. So it certainly seems like this top 5 are the clear top 5, although there is about 2 seconds between each of the top 4 cars. As Haris Mohammed now comes into the pit lane. Another driver starting to make pit stops. But most of the drivers who are making pit stops have been outside of the sort of the top 10, top 15 area. No one from the front of the grid has made a pit stop just yet. What are these drivers going to do? Are they going to stay out as they are? Or are they going to potentially come in? And if they are, when will they do that? Or as Siswoyo goes wide, Stanley's going to go up the inside here of Spoon Corner. There might be a bit of contact there on the second apex, but no. They managed to avoid it, and now Stanley, can he get a run? He's very close. Starting to close in now, halfway down the straight. He's not really going to get an overlap. But can he get... Always Siswoyo hits the curve quite a lot. Is he going to be able to get an overlap finally into the chicane? No, not quite. Although just behind them, Kenzie now is trying to go side by side around the outside of Ardineza. Ardineza into the chicane. Yes, he's managed to make that work. Nice move there. All bit of contact on the exit. So Ardineza comes back in the green machine. And also just ahead we got Stanley and Siswoyo side by side into turn number 1, but I couldn't quite make that move. But can Kenzie make the move into turn number 1? Yes, he can. And gets himself there up to 6th place in the blue number 7 machine. So this field is actually spread out quite a bit compared to the amateur race, which is quite surprising, as it was staying very close in those first few laps. The field spread has started to come along a little bit as we've now gone into the final 11 minutes of the race. And we've got these 2 fights at the moment for 4th position and also 6th. Stanley getting pretty close for 5th, but Ardineza getting kind of close, but not enough to make a move just yet. Unlike Stanley, who's getting really close, coming up into Spoon Corner. Can he make a dive down the inside? No, he can't quite yet. Not to always. Siswoyo goes wide. Stanley, 2nd lap in a row, is looking at a move up the inside of Spoon. He's a bit further alongside, but the move is not done just yet, as Siswoyo has got a bit of an advantage, although they're directly side by side now into 130R. Bit of contact there. Oh, can they save it? Yes, they can, but Siswoyo left Stanley no room on that apex. 130R, so now Stanley's going to try and go around the outside of the Casio Triangle. And they're still side by side for multiple corners as Haris Mohammed is DNF from the race. But Siswoyo still leading this battle. Can Stanley finally make a move down the inside of turn number 1? He was side by side last time, if you remember, but couldn't make it work. Can Siswoyo hold around the outside? No, Stanley has got... Yeah, Stanley has finally got that position. So after about a lap of battling, he's finally made that work, as Ferrianto also has DNF from the race. So 2 DNFs on the last 30 seconds or so.
Not sure exactly what happened to them. Perhaps some issue with pits, because we saw Muhammad come into the pits a little bit earlier, a lap or two ago. But that's difficult to say at this point in time. Of course, Taruna still the driver that is doing the best job of everybody else so far, of course, leading this race. And the gap between him and Maulana is just over 3 seconds now. Maulana in his turn also has about 4 seconds of a gap to Rahmat behind him. And with just over 8 minutes to go, it's looking really good for Arvin Taruna. Taruna, sorry.
So this battle at the front is actually spread out even more with Stanley and Saswoyo. Interestingly, Maulana's dropped off even more from Taruna, and Rahmat can't keep up with Maulana. Then Stanley and Saswoyo have just lost time with their battling in 4th and 5th position. Is Taruna coming in? No, he's staying out. So I think that these guys are going to stay out, as there's only probably 4 laps left in this race. It's going to be a 19-lap race as Taruna comes across the line with 7.5 minutes to go. So yeah, I think it's going to be a 19-lap race for these guys. And I wonder if any of these guys can get to the end fairly comfortably with that. I don't know. So,
yeah. Yeah.
Not an overtake, but someone who might make an overtake is Michael Christian. Made that pit stop, if you remember, now going side by side with Haryanto. Oh, got pushed off there a little bit, Haryanto, not leaving him any space on the outside. Can Christian save it? Yes, he can. The Haryanto really didn't leave him enough space on the entry of 130R. And now Christian is going to have to make up that time all over again. So let's have a look at the lap times. Yeah, they've dropped off about almost 1.5, maybe 2 seconds from the start of the race. So there's definitely tyre drop-off, and that could be something to factor in. In fact, like Siswoyo, he's about 3 seconds off. So I do think a pit stop could actually potentially work for one of these guys. It's probably too late now, but maybe if they learn from this for round 1 next week, we're obviously at the same track, same car. But I do wonder if potentially someone will try that next week, because if they are 3 seconds lap slower, in a few laps you will lose 7 laps at 21 seconds, which is what it takes for a pit stop. But obviously you lose a little bit more having to go down the pit road as well. But what can Kenzie do? Can he defend this 6th place? He's actually pulling away a little bit, so I think he's got less rear wing on the car. Yeah, he defends nicely into the chicane. As Ardianza now works his way out, but can he get the slipstream? Yes, he can. Is it a bit too late? I think it might be. Although he's got a good line. Can he get down the inside? Turn number 2. Yeah, he's going to dive down the inside. And Kenzie's going to be forced out there. And he loses the position because he went a bit too deep into turn 1. And that is the move gone for Kenzie. He's dropped down to 7th place. Ardianza up into 6th.
Yeah, an aggressive move there by Ardianza into turn 2, effectively, but I think it was fair. The door was kept open by Kenzie throughout that corner. Of course, it's difficult to defend through there, and sure, Ardianza took full advantage of that opportunity.
And that is what you've got to do. especially in these cars. When you see that opportunity, you need to make it work. That is certainly what he did.
4 minutes to go. I think we are getting one more lap after the next one, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah, I think they will have another lap. I have to see exactly what the time is when they cross the line. But yeah, I think they'll have 2 more.
Yeah, so 2 to go when Arvin Taruna crosses the line now. Still 18 drivers in this race. Field is quite spread out, especially a bit further down the field. But so far we've had some great racing here at Suzuka. And that promises to give us, I think, some great racing during the rest of this championship. Of course, for those that have missed it earlier on, this is just a test race. The real races are going to start happening from next week onwards. And starting that championship. Oh, Taruna almost loses the car there into turn 2 as he goes wide onto the exit curb. I think perhaps he needs some new underwear there. With only 2.5 minutes to go, 2 laps to go, almost lost the lead there.
And fortunately, when you get a bit like that in a front-wheel drive car, it is a bit easier to save because all you do is you smash the throttle and it brings it back in line. But that is not what you want to do. We have 2 laps to go, and yes, with 2.5 minutes to go, they will have enough time to finish this lap and then start the last one. So yes, we have got not too long left in this first pro race. As you mentioned, it is the test race before next week we start the championship. The Honda Racing Simulator Championship. And then we will head to Sepang after that before Silverstone, Interlagos, Zandvoort and Estoril.
Arianto and Christian battling still here, coming out of turn 2 side by side. Into the S as we go. That's going to be tight. Not easy to go side by side through here. And Arianto also backs, Christian backs out of it there. But with 1 lap to go after this one, I think Christian is going to try and get past him. Very close there to the rear bumper of that blue Honda Civic of Arianto. Is Christian going to go for a move here in the deckness? No, it's not the place to do it. Perhaps into the hairpin though, if he can get a good exit out of here. He can, and I think he's definitely lined himself up here for a move on the inside, perhaps of the hairpin, braking late. But the car of Arianto doesn't brake enough there for the corner. That's going to allow Christian to go past a bit of contact on the exit of the corner there. But good move there by Christian. Arianto just outbraking himself a little bit. Perhaps looking in the mirrors a bit too much for Christian. But up to P12 he goes for now.
We see quite a big gap between 10th and 11th. So I think 11th downwards are people who've made a pit stop and they really haven't made that time back. So it certainly seems at the moment potentially a pit stop isn't the best if you can get your tyres to the end, which it seems top drivers can do. But we also are on the final lap now, with only 20 seconds to go, and Edo has caught Kenzie for 7th place, so he might get a last lap overtake from him.
And also Stanley and Rachmat are very close here in this final lap of the race.
A couple of guys getting very close indeed. We'll try and keep an eye on both of them for you to get... Oh, there goes the time, 0 seconds. We are now officially on the final lap of the race as we've got Stanley coming down the inside of Rachmat. Now they're side by side on the exit of the hairpin, coming around the long corner up to Spoon. And this is really one of the final opportunities to make an overtake before the final chicane. So what can he do? Is he going to dive it down the inside? No, he can't quite get there. Or can he on the second apex actually? He's going to get... No, oh, big contact. He's going to be a bit of a spin there. Although actually Rachmat managed to save that. As now Stanley is going to have to get The slipstream down the back straight for the final time. I also need to keep an eye on it. Also, Edo's got past Kenzie in the background as well. Edo's got past Kenzie on the final lap. But Taruna coming around the final corner is going to take victory in the Pro Class test race here, which is an awesome job for him, winning fairly comfortably from Maulana, who is going to get third place. Rakhmat, it looks like, although Stanley's going to get him, is he going to get him at the line? That's going to be very close. No, Rakhmat keeps on for third place. Suswoyo will come along in fifth. Ardianza in sixth place. Edo got past Kenzie there on the final lap. In the spoon corner for 7th place, Kenzie in 8th, Farhan in 9th, but Fikri Azka is all over the back of him. Can he get him towards the line? Going a bit of a drag race, but no, Farhan will get 9th. Azka in 10th, but then we look quite a way back for 11th place. A number of drivers fighting here. Pratama in 11th, Christian in 12th, and Andre in 13th. Who's going to come out on top? Was
or Andre very wide there. He's gonna get the best run. Ooh! Pratama basically caught the entire Casio triangle. Now Andre is gonna try on the inside of Christian to the line in drag race. Who's gonna get it? This is gonna be very close. I think Christian just got it by 700ths of a second compared to Andre there. Very close on the finish there with these last few finishers.
And Haryanto following them behind before a bit of a gap to Arik, who I don't know if he got a stop-go penalty or something like that, but he came into the pit lane twice. And he will get 15th place. Nicholas Stephen will get 16th. And Hidyat will get 17th, a little way down. Then we got the DNFs of Ahmad in 18th with fuel. Then Analua in 19th, Ferianto in 20th, and Haris Mohammed, who seemingly just a DNF from the race, and then Iskander in 22nd. But that race was all about Taruna winning the race by over 6 seconds in the end, and a further 3.5 seconds to Rakhmat. So, is Taruna the one to look out for in the championship? Who knows? We will have to find out next week when we come back for round number 1. But Felix, that was certainly a pretty interesting race, and it's going to give us good insight into what is going to happen next week when we hit round number 1.
Yeah, I think it definitely is. I mean, this has been practice for the drivers, for the people behind the scenes, and for the viewers getting used to how this championship is going to go. And we saw some great racing today. It's looking really promising for next week. And of course, the drivers maybe have a bit more insight as to what the strategy might be able to do. As we saw, the pit stops didn't really work. The drivers that did pit stops are pretty much all down the top 10. So I guess they will decide something different in the actual first race here in Suzuka. But we're going to have to wait and see for that until next week.
Yes, we certainly will. So next week, the 11th of July, we'll be back at the the same time for the amateur race first before we head to the pro race. So that is 8 p.m. Indonesian time, 2000 hours. We will get the amateur race, and then 1 hour later at 2100 we will get the pro race as well. But that pretty much rounds it up here for the test race for the Honda Racing Simulator Championship. Once again, thank you to the sponsors and Honda specifically for putting on this event. But until next week, the 11th of July, we wish you a very warm goodbye.
Goodbye.